I'm gonna just cut to the chase. Black Americans, please tell me, how are we benefiting from integrating with anybody, including other tethers and these piranhas that's coming from these predominantly black countries? For example, the Latin community, they come over here and they use the 14th Amendment so that they can drop all these anchor babies all over the place. Not to mention, when they come over here, they move into our neighborhoods. They open up these rim shops, these mechanic shops, these restaurants, and anything else, these warehouses. They come and basically swarm all the work areas that black people predominantly occupy. Not only do they do that, once their numbers get large enough, they try to move us out. Don't let me talk about California. I ain't even from Cali, but I remember when I did go to California, there were no black people in sight. I could not find black people anywhere. Maybe I was just on the wrong side of the state, but I've been all over California, and it was very difficult for me to find any black neighborhoods or communities. But anyways, these Latin people, these Hispanics will come in the black community, and not only will they open up all these stores, they won't even hire us unless we speak Spanish. And even if you do speak Spanish, they're gonna say things to you, make jokes about you and all that shit just because they know you understand, and their numbers are larger. We all know that. Now, black people, we have always accepted people of all colors, ethnicities, all of that, races, religions, anything, but it's never been reciprocated. I remember there was this black woman that was in El Paso. She was crying. I remember this. Y'all can go look this up on TikTok. She was crying because she couldn't get a job just because she couldn't speak Spanish.
Spanish people have made it so difficult for one like me to get a job.
You know, I have lost many jobs to people that are bilingual, especially people that speak Spanish. And every time I would go home angry that I didn't know Spanish.
And my question is, how do you learn English just to come to our country and then open your own community and then force us to learn your language even though you here? That don't make sense. Now let's talk about integration with Europeans. Europeans have no problem with black people working for them, around them, or even with them, just as long as you're not above them. We already see about all these agendas they've pushed in the black community and how black people, we don't even control our own culture in the rap industry anymore because we've allowed all these people to integrate themselves so much into our culture that now they've taken advantage of it. And let's talk about integration with Asians. FBAs, when we've integrated with Asians, they do the same things Latins do. The only difference is they ain't about to be your neighbor. They ain't moving next to you. They gonna set up their salons and their restaurants and anything else in the black community, their hair stores. And then after they do that, they're going to move out and then they're going to go stay with those Europeans, or they're going to stay somewhere else. They don't even stay around us. Not to mention, how many videos have you seen with these Asian men attacking black women just off of suspicion of shoplifting? And let's talk about integration with these tethers. In other words, I like to call them piranhas because they be eating off of us. These tethers that come from the Caribbean, or come from Africa, or come from anywhere else, and try to integrate themselves in our culture, and they take everything they can from our culture without reinvesting it. It's like they come here and they just be informants. These black American women made Nicki Minaj one of the biggest rap artists in the last 20 years. They made Cardi B one of the biggest rap artists in the last 5 years. But correct me if I'm wrong, when Michael B. Jordan, I believe he had like some type of liquor or something he was trying to make, and he named it after like a Caribbean parade or something like that. And Nicki Minaj, out of all people, had a problem with it, even though she been cosplaying black American women for the longest. The black American slang, she put that all in her music. She had no problem dressing like y'all, acting like y'all, being a stereotype of a black American woman. But when it came to Michael B. Jordan, the FBA brother, trying to use a name that comes from the Caribbeans to help promote a drink that he was creating or whatever it was he was making, she had a problem with it. She's sitting here calling this man, she called Michael B. Jordan a culture appropriator. That's crazy, especially coming from her. Cardi B, black women, and put Cardi B on the map. And how did she repay y'all? By calling y'all cucarachas? By calling y'all cockroaches? Yeah, I remember that. I remember when Kai Cenat said that black Americans had no culture. I remember when Busta Rhymes and Fat Joe were talking about how Puerto Ricans and Caribbean founded hip hop, or they're as equally as responsible for hip hop. Even though everybody know hip hop started in New York, Chicago, then people in the South started rapping. That's a FBA culture. Hip hop and rap, R&B, blues, country, rock and roll, all of that is FBA culture. And the reason why I feel like black people need to separate, especially from the tethers, outside of them being informants, not only when they get here, they start eating off of us, but they try to slow us down at the same time. I believe he the governor of Maryland. Please go fact check. But he was talking about how FBAs, we don't need reparations, right? Dude from Jamaica. And they talking about, oh, well, he was only saying that because we've had enough study. And I'm like, dog, what alternative is he offering? None. Let's talk about those Africans in Texas. I remember there was a black woman who was trying to go work at that African braiding shop, and they didn't want her working there because she wasn't African. Why does nobody ever talk about the fact that when these foreigners or these immigrants, they build these communities off of the dollars of FBA, but then they want to exclude us at the same time? And you know what's crazy? Ever since I saw that these black men was checking these Asian shops for putting their hands on black women, now I've actually seen black women starting to work at a lot of these Asian shops, these beauty salons, which was very interesting. They real respectful now. Let's talk about Michael Rappaport. Ice Cube put him on. Black people didn't really know who he was before he was on Friday After the Next. Most black people had no idea who he was.
Yeah, what are you, one of those entertainer guys, huh?
Dude was being hella disrespectful, talking about, oh, I got some Jewish friends. And he basically making threats towards black people who wouldn't speak up for the causes he wanted us to speak up for. Not only Michael Rappaport, let's talk about, what's that other white comedian name? I believe his name, Gary Owen. And he was using his wife to throw racial slurs at Michael Blackson because she's black and he wasn't.
Also, I heard you said I won't say the N-word back to you. You dared me. I ain't gotta say it back. My lady will say it for me. I got a down-ass chick. Michael Blackson, you punk ass.
Nigga.
Ho. Michael Blackson, you bitch ass.
Nigga.
Let's talk about Akon and his identity crisis. Akon was born here in the United States, if I'm not mistaken. But you know what he did? He started talking about how black Americans are not as talented as Africans are. Even though that man came over here and he built his entire legacy, everything he got came from black American culture. But we get no credit from that. He said that all of the talent was somewhere in Africa. Let's talk about Burna Boy, a Nigerian rapper. What'd he do? He come over here in America, cosplaying black Americans, and now he's another one of these tethering rich immigrants. So I want to ask you, FBA, how have we benefited from integrating with any of these other groups of people? How have we benefited? We haven't. It don't matter where they come from and what walks of life there is. These people come over here and all they do is piggyback off of us. Not only that, eat off of us like a bunch of piranhas and just leave us to have the bones. That's it. I remember that Indian man, he came over here and he pretended to be a black American just so he can get a scholarship. And they try to pretend and act as if black people have some type of black privilege. That's why that scholarship was reserved.
An Indian American, he realized the only way that he would be accepted at med school would be to pass as black. He chronicled his experiences in his book, Almost Black, the true story of how I got into medical school by pretending to be black. VJ Chokol Ingham joins me now. So you were studying statistics at the University of Chicago, and you say to yourself, I don't stand a chance with my 3.1. What did you do?
Well, I shaved my head, I trimmed my eyelashes, and I decided to join the organization of black students so I could apply to medical school as a black man. I also used my middle name, Jojo. I subsequently interviewed at medical schools across the country and managed to get waitlisted at Washington University and the University of Pennsylvania, then ranked the second, the third, and fourth best medical schools in the country, and got into St. Louis University School of Medicine, despite the fact that my pretty pitiful 3.1 GPA was dramatically lower than their average of 3.7.
No, partner, we get things reserved because the country already knows the sabotage that they done. All those scholarships is scraps. That's it. We're not getting reserved land. We're not getting reserved money. We're not getting anything reserved for us. Scholarships, that's a drop in the bucket compared to what we actually deserve. We can't exercise nepotism. So that's why I say Black Americans, FBA, we need to delineate from everybody. I don't care what their skin color is. Delineate from these tethers, delineate from these Euros, delineate from everybody, because we need healing. We've been people's punching bags so long, and we haven't had time to heal. We've been the only people in a position where everybody can take their anger and frustration out on us. We haven't had time to heal. You know what happens when you go to a gym and you exercise and you stretch a muscle enough, you'll tear it. There's this thing called muscle plateau. That means your muscle can no longer grow back because you keep breaking it down. At this point, we don't have leverage to keep getting beaten down. We already got this gender war between each other. We got enough adversity. We don't need to be fighting amongst each other. We need to unite, come together, and we need to separate. If you like what I was saying, man, make sure you like, comment, share, subscribe. I got more videos coming, and we out.